YouTube. That way, if anyone wants to go back and take a look at it, they will have opportunity. So basically, what I've done here is simplified the market based off of 4 data points that I assume and you know can't necessarily confirm, but would assume that every trader can see all the time, right? And that those 4 data points being the open, low, high, close, right? Or the open, high, low, close, whatever you want to use, or whichever order that you'd like to use them in. And so what I've done is coded them in a way that it will tell us when momentum is building versus when the market is not having momentum, or um, when the market is getting downside momentum versus upside momentum. Excuse me. So here we have just your regular continuous contract ES futures chart. And you'll see some of these bars, green, red, and white. And white bars are a representation of a math problem that is either -2 or +2. Okay? If you see a green bar, this is going to equal a +4. Just a math problem, right? That's based off the open, high, low, close. It's very simple. And that's the whole goal of this, right? Is to make one trade a day and make it simple. Right? To be able to just come into the market, wait for this one trade for the day, take the one trade, and follow on through that. Not necessarily going to be a winner every single day, as we know that's just not possible, but it can at least help you stay on the right side of the market, and it can at least alleviate some of the day trader analysis paralysis where you're in and out and in and out and in and out, right? Regardless of, whether you make money or not, that's not the goal here. The goal is to place one good trade a day. Now, if we see this red bar, that's going to equal a -4. Okay, so now we kind of understand the layout of this chart, right? Some of the trend lines you see and some of the other things are just things that I use in the chart. And if you're part of our trade room, you're already used to them and you've already seen them before. And if you guys have questions while we're going through, just type them in the Zoom chat. That way I can get to them as they come. So now we have this, now we kind of understand what equals, or what kind of determines that +4 or -4 or +2 or -2. And that's what just turns the bar a certain color. Now, now with this, what we can do, and me back testing and the things that I've done, is when we get a -4, typically the next day we'll open it. And so remember that we'll be trading off of the previous day's information. So we can use the current day. So 12/1, which was Friday, and then today is the 4th, which is the Monday. So on Friday is the data that we'll use to trade the next day. So the settle or the close, if you guys use that term or prefer that term, it's the same for me, on a +4 day or a -4 day is going to be kind of your break point or your flip zone, so to speak. So if we have this +4 day coming into today, we knew that most likely we want to be, because we're below that settle, right? And so what these green bars are indicating is that we're getting momentum building to the upside. Red bar, right? Momentum building to the downside. So we want to stay on the proper side of the settle. And we're just going to use yesterday's example because it's just going to be easier. So we have the settle up here. So we know that unless we get above the settle, that the market is likely to fade lower. And you can see the market did fade a little bit lower. It's now kind of bouncing more or less. But we're not above that settle. And so what this is kind of telling us is that you need to be cautious with any longs below this. And then if we do get above this level, let's say the market rallies up, we get above that, then we know we don't want to be placing any shorts. Right? And so that's not to say that, maybe up higher, uh, maybe up higher here, right? You look to fade from some previous levels, or maybe lower, you look to buy when you're below that. This is just mainly for an intraday trade, right? Your levels are your levels. Use them how you see fit. But in my experience and my back testing, it's been kind of shown that on these +4 or -4 days, you're better off staying on the right side of the market based off of the settle, right? And so, and you can see if we go back here, um, most of the time, and like I said, nothing's a perfect system, but you know, we get a -4 day here, right? So we got 3 white bars in a row, then we get a -4 day, indicating that momentum is building to the downside. Next day opens up, it doesn't stay above the settle, right? So the settle would be here, the close from this bar would be here, and that would indicate to us that we want to be short, right? The next day, the same idea, it does get above the settle, right? You could see where it did lower, but still a -4 day. The next day opens up, and we can zoom in a little bit just to make it a little bit easier to see. So the next day opens up, so we get a -4, and this is kind of a divergence bar. So we have a -4 here. This is the close, and so we know coming into the next day, we don't want to be short unless we can get below this settle. You can see that we tapped that low and then traded back up. So this is just to give you an idea of what type of trade to take. It doesn't help you with entries, it doesn't help you with exits, but it does help you with understanding the momentum. Right? And I know a lot of people will use or do use other things for momentum, maybe stochastics, maybe RSI, maybe the MACD. There's a lot of things that can be utilized for the benefit of understanding momentum. But this is just telling you intraday momentum based off of the previous day and the previous day alone. No, there's no look back period besides that previous day. It doesn't look 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. It only looks at the previous day's information to decide what color to paint the bar today. So we can see the next day, right? This is a +4. Our close is up here, 42.71. The next day we do not get above that. Momentum builds, momentum builds, momentum builds, right? Can't get below that settle. Straight up. Momentum starts to build to the upside now. Above the settle, above the settle, above the settle. Right? This day here, so we get a +4 day. We're looking to get long above the previous day's settle, and we know we want to be cautious with these shorts. So a day like this, is where the trouble comes in for a lot of people, right? They're like, well, it's a +4 day, but I want to be a buyer. I know I want to be a buyer, so where am I going to buy? And where can I get in so I don't have to take a lot of heat and I can just have optimal trade location? Okay. And so what we can do for this, and let's see if it'll here small. So it's not gonna let us kind of jam it up. Um, gonna, we'll take this here and we're gonna make it screen.